Greetings, royal family. All right, we're on episode 2 of The Last Dance. So this episode focuses more on Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan's number 2, his right-hand man, his Robin to his Batman. Thanks for clicking on the video, royal family. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the review for episode 1. If you haven't seen it, be sure to check it out. If you're not watching The Last Dance, I highly recommend it. I have talked about The Last Dance coming out, the documentary, and it's good so far. So I'll save my overall thoughts on the first 2 episodes until the end. So let's just get into this commentary. Here we go. So Scottie Pippen, all right, pretty much a household name if you are familiar with the Chicago Bulls. He came into the NBA after the Seattle Supersonics drafted him. So what ended up happening is he was traded to the Chicago Bulls. Now, they talked about in episode 2 of this Last Dance documentary, they talked about how Scottie Pippen earned significantly less than Michael Jordan. And I said, okay, well, that makes sense. You know, Jordan is Jordan. Jordan was with the Chicago Bulls prior to Scottie Pippen. And Jordan made a name for himself. He filled seats. He basically revived a dying franchise, the Chicago Bulls. So, all right, it makes sense that he gets paid more. But based on Scottie Pippen's stats, he was second to Jordan in most categories, but his salary did not reflect that at all. And again, Jordan and Pippen, you're talking about like Batman and Robin, you know, peanut butter and jelly, you know what I mean? And Scottie Pippen wasn't a loaf. He definitely aided in the team's success. So even though he was, you know, second in command and he was great and he had high stats, there were 5 other players on the Chicago Bulls team at the time that these gentlemen played that earned more money than Scottie Pippen. He was number 6 on the team in terms of salary. Pippen was the 122nd highest paid player in the NBA. That is insane. How did this happen, right? So he signed a 7-year deal for $18 million. That was his contract. Now, his logic, Scottie Pippen said, you know, he didn't really have time to kind of negotiate and go back and forth about his contract, because he was factoring in, I could get injured and not play. You know, he took care of his family. So he didn't hesitate to sign it. He was thinking about his family and taking care of his family. His father, growing up, his father suffered from a stroke, or, you know, he had a stroke and he ended up in a wheelchair. His brother, Scottie Pippen's brother, was injured when he was in high school, and he also ended up in a wheelchair. So here it is. You have your father and your brother, both wheelchair bound. You know, he also made sure that, you know, his mother was well taken care of when he was earning his money. So his frame of thinking is like, okay, this is $18 million. Yeah, this is a 7-year deal. Deal probably stinks, but maybe he didn't think that he would get anything better than that at the time. You know, he is from Arkansas. I don't know if I mentioned that. And he was one of 12 children, so he had a big family. So his motivation was, $18 million is better than nothing, whatever. I got a family to support, and I'm focused on my family. You know, I believe that he definitely deserved to be paid way more than he was getting. And it's like Scottie Pippen will always be remembered as one of the top players, number 2 to be exact, for the Bulls in the 90s. He came in second statistically as it comes to like all categories, right? Like, except for, I think, rebounds or steals or something like that. I think he was number 1 on the Bulls team, but it was crazy, you know. So I get it. I get his motivation for signing that crappy contract. You know, he was just thinking about, he wasn't thinking about just himself. He was thinking about his family as well. You know, the NBA, they wouldn't even consider renegotiating his contract. So Later on down the line, after him being with the Bulls for quite some time, Scottie Pippen ended up having foot surgery, which caused him to miss several months worth of games. And of course, the Bulls, they definitely suffered in his absence. Scottie was in no rush to get back in the game. This is long after him playing several games, and tensions were high between Scottie Pippen and the general manager. So he could have had surgery, did his rehabilitation, and had been ready for the next season, if I'm not mistaken, if I caught that correctly. Jordan was giving his commentary present day about Scottie Pippen's injury in the past. And Jordan said that he felt that Scottie Pippen took too long to have his surgery and do rehab. And Jordan felt that Scottie was doing this to try to force the general manager to change the terms of his crappy contract. Okay, this is Jordan giving his input about that. And going back to when Scottie Pippen was absent from that season after him having injured himself, the teammates said that he provided a synergy that was missed while he was out, of course. And of course, Jordan, he missed his right-hand man, and he was stressed, and Jordan started getting tough and snapping at his teammates, yelling at his teammates. He had to work overtime during these games without Pippen. So his objective, Jordan, we all know, was to win and just be laser focused. But of course, I'm pretty sure that there was a lot of weight on his shoulders because, again, the Robin to his Batman was out, and Jordan had his own personal feelings like, come on, Scottie, you could have the surgery, you could do your rehab, and you could be back, for the next season at least. But Scottie Pippen, he dragged his feet, no pun intended, and he took his time because he felt like, you know what? Let me see if I'm worth something to these people. So we shift gears and we go back into time to talk about Jordan and how he got his competitive nature, right? So this competitive nature that Jordan has started when he was a child, okay? He oftentimes fought for his father's attention growing up. He says that his older brother was kind of closer, I guess, to his father. So Jordan felt like he had to fight his brothers for their father's attention. He was one of 5 children, and his parents wanted, their children to play organized sports, to remain disciplined, and also to keep them busy. His father worked for GM, and his mother worked for the bank. They were very big on education. So his brothers and him, they were always in sports. They were always doing things. And Jordan said that there was a lot of racism at that time. And he just knew that he didn't want to be stuck in North Carolina. Like he dreamed big, basically. In high school, he had to overcome rejection, especially when he did not make the basketball team freshman year, I think it was. He was devastated. His mother said he was crying, and she cried with him. And his mother just told him, like, look, you don't wait for anyone to give you anything. You want something, you work hard, and you go out and get it. So this fueled him to work hard to be able to make the team the next time he tried out, which was his sophomore year. And he did. Not to mention he had a huge growth spurt. So he spent the summer perfecting his craft because he wanted it. And I think a part of him also wanted the approval of his father as well. He wanted his father to see him, So again, this documentary, one of the things that I like is that they're jumping from 1985 back to when Jordan was little, they're kind of keeping a sequence, but not really. So let's fast forward to 1985, right? Jordan is playing with the Bulls. He's a rookie, if I'm not mistaken, or he's a year in. And he ends up getting injured. So he broke a bone in his foot. This was during his early years on the Bulls. And he never missed a game. And now here it is. He had to sit out of numerous games. He was like antsy. He couldn't take it. He was sitting on the bench. His parents were telling him, look, you can't rush your healing. You can't go back in the game. So because he could not just be still, he said that he went back to college. And because he left University of North Carolina his junior year, so he only had maybe one more year, 2 semesters or so before he could earn his college degree. He didn't say if he went back to college to earn his degree or completed his degree. I'm assuming he did. But anyway, he said he he talked the Bulls into letting him go back to college. So he went back to college, but secretly he was working out in the gym when he basically should have been resting and healing. So he said every single day he would work out in the gym, and he would be playing against different guys in the gym. So one day he took on one person. It was a 1-on-1. Then it became a 2-on-1, all the way up until he built his stamina up to play 5-on-1, him against 5 other guys. So he did end up returning to play, right? And they discovered that his injured leg was stronger than his uninjured leg. So they were like, how the heck did you do this? And that's when he confessed, like, look, I was secretly working out in the gym when I should have been healing. But it worked to his benefit. Like, he was determined to get back in the game. He was risking being permanently injured if he got hurt. You know, and if he got hurt, that would have caused the Bulls franchise to go up in smoke if Jordan was permanently injured. He was the face of the franchise. So when he got back, he was allowed to play, right? But with restrictions. So he wouldn't let up. So he was like, look, I got to get back in the game, right? So they came to an agreement, and they allowed Jordan to play in the games with a 7-minute time limit in each quarter. Now, you're talking about a guy who is determined, who doesn't want to hear he can't do something, who is laser focused on winning the game at all costs. And he is restricted to 7 minutes in each quarter. There's 4 quarters of the game, right? So I thought this was funny. And he wasn't feeling that at all. He just was not feeling that at all. So there was a particular game where there was 14 seconds left on the clock. This game would send the Bulls to the playoffs, right? So against the original agreement that Jordan would only play a specific amount of time, which at this point he had already played, they put him back in the game. They ended up winning. Jordan didn't even make the winning shot of this particular game. They ended up winning, which progressed the Bulls on to the playoffs. But management was not happy at all, and heads were going to roll. I don't remember if it was the assistant coach or one of the coaches at that time. His job was on the line. If he put Jordan in longer than the allotted 7 minutes each quarter, he was going to lose his job. So one of the old players said, actually the guy who hit the game-winning shot, he said it wasn't a good day after that game. Okay, so Jordan and the team management's relationship was not the same after that, because they're looking at it like, here it is, this guy is just doing whatever he wants to do, because they had their plans, something pertaining to the drafts, and they wanted first pick, and they didn't want to risk him being injured. It's politics. If you guys know, you can put it in the comments. But Jordan wasn't trying to hear none of that. So now we move on to it's playoff time, right? So Jordan then broke the rules, and the Bulls made it to the playoffs. So they progressed on to play Larry Bird and the Celtics. Now, the Bulls did lose the series. They lost game 1, and they ended up losing the series. However, Jordan showed his behind. He showed out in a good way. He scored 49 points in game 1. Now, you're talking about Larry Bird, okay? And the Celtics at that time, I think they had like 4 or 5 Hall of Fame players. And Jordan was just excited to even progress on to the playoffs and to be playing amongst legends, you know what I mean, in his eyes. So this was before Pippen came to the Bulls. So again, Jordan, he was up against like 4 or 5 Hall of Famers that were on the Celtics. So we move on, game 2 of the playoffs. The Bulls lost, but Jordan scored 63 points. 63. 6-3. Him by himself. 63 points. And again, the Celtics, they ended up winning this series, but Jordan was about 2 or 3 years in the NBA and basically set the bar high, broke like planted a seed for a new record or broke records, whatever you want to say. Like, his drive was insane. He scored 63 points. It's crazy. And here we are years later still talking about that. You know what I mean? So we Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, they gave commentary. You've seen old clips of them, and then you also see present day commentary. And Larry Bird is not even like focused on the fact that they won the playoffs in that series. He just kept talking about the fact that Jordan and his stamina, and, you know, he had youth on his side. You know, he had swag on the court. He had energy. It's just amazing, amazing to see. All right, so let's shift gears. Let's go back to Pippen. So they were trying to trade him, basically, okay? And the Bulls at this point had 5 championships, and they were trying to win a 6th. So I think that Scottie Pippen was really done dirty. It's crazy. When I was younger and I did not understand what was going on, you just in it for the love of the game, he got fed up. Scottie Pippen got fed up, and he started just talking trash to the general manager, you know, in front of the team. He was fed up because he wasn't getting paid what he deserved. Then he was in the press saying that he wanted out. He did interviews, and he was demanding to be traded. He was tired. Jordan gave commentary, present day, saying that looking back, he felt that Scottie Pippen was being selfish. And I kind of scoffed at this. I was like, what? Like, doesn't Scottie Pippen have the right to be selfish? I think it's easy, in my opinion, for Jordan to say that because he didn't have to worry about the issues that Scottie Pippen was facing. Jordan's salary wasn't peanuts like Scottie Pippen's. Management was quicker to appease Jordan versus Pippen, obviously. I don't think Pippen was being selfish at all. He was no longer willing to be disrespected. You know what I mean? Yes, he did sign that crappy contract initially, but come on. At this point, you're talking about them winning 5 championships. And Scottie Pippen had everything to do with that, among other players. You know, so Jordan saying that Scottie Pippen was being selfish, yeah, he's entitled to his opinion and his feelings, but this is the same Jordan that said that he would leave if Phil Jackson was no longer the coach. See, Jordan had that luxury to make those protests. Scottie Pippen, no, he didn't. So this was good, though. This was good. There's a lot of things that I like about this. These are the first 2 episodes. Well, I did episode 1. Make sure you check out that video. So my thoughts so far on the first 2 episodes. So far, I like that they aren't going in chronological order per se. Commentary from Jordan, Pippen, Phil Jackson, David Stern. He passed away recently. I think I mentioned that in episode 1. We've seen Ahmad Rashad, Bob Costas, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. I just love Steve Kerr. I love that. I just love that these men are still here and we get to see them documented, giving their commentary. These professionals, these athletic professionals, giving their commentary about history, about the Bulls, you know, an iconic era in the NBA. The old footage that's incorporated, it just brings back great memories for me. Jordan's mother, so sweet, seems very down to earth, level headed. She provides commentary as well, which I love. So they had old footage of his father. You know, his father passed away years ago, but they had old footage of his father as well doing interviews. So far, I'm just loving the way this is all assembled. I think episode 3 is going to be focusing on Dennis Rodman, who is one of my favorite Bulls players. So it's not just all about Jordan, if you weren't aware going in. So I just like seeing the old games, the throwback uniforms, the throwback sneakers. Those little details so far really make this worth watching. You know, Bob Costas, seeing old clips of Bob Costas when he was much younger, seeing Jordan much younger. So if you grew up watching and loving the 90s Chicago Bulls and the NBA during that time, then you understand. So this concludes my commentary for episode 2 of The Last Dance. Be sure to get down in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you're watching. If you're not watching, ESPN every Sunday, I think it's at 8 or 9 East. Don't quote me. They do 2 episodes every Sunday night. So it's a 10-part series. and the series concludes on May 17th. So it is something to watch for the sports lovers. The NBA games have been canceled. Normally around this time, it would be the playoffs, getting ready to go into the finals in May. So this is giving us sports fans something to do. So Royal Family, thanks for rocking out to the end of the video. Be sure to hit the like button, share the commentary, tune in on Sunday night so we can watch together and discuss. So I'm signing off for now. Until next time, peace.